Welcome to the hottest real estate topics on the planet, keeping you up to date with all the creative ways to buy and sell real estate without bank qualifying, so anyone can build real income starting today. Here is another great show with Dealmaker Bill and Pete the Rookie.
All right, here we are at another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies.
And they're off.
So
to
wait
the
a
races.
minute. Something occurred to me the other day. Why is it plural? You're only one person.
It's not for me, Bill. It's for all the boys and girls.
Oh.
I'm their spokesperson, representative, chief rookie in training.
And are they the ones that are voting you to be class 3?
No, it's all me.
It's all you.
I'm up to 6.
Oh, you're up to 6.
6.5. You see the colors I picked on the house? It's beautiful.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
The red, the slate blue, the shed.
Sounds
foundation.
patriotic.
Well, I have to give him credit, Naomi. How are you today, by the way?
I'm doing great.
This is real improv because I had an appointment with my doctor. With my wife's doctor. We'll do that again. My wife had a doctor's appointment, and so we didn't do our normal 9:30 thing, and then I just kind of came in and rushed in and made a phone call to my attorney, and here we are. We didn't even talk. So this is total improv. So you're
this
good
is
today?
going to be really good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Nobody knows what's going on.
Nobody knows what's going on, but we're going to figure it out.
So I want to go back to the rookie thing. So did they vote that you were like number 6? Is that what happened? Do you have a little fan club that you're voting?
I am chief rookie. I vote myself.
Oh,
I'm like
okay.
Congress. I give myself raises.
Well, I have to give you credit.
Yeah.
Because I tease you a lot. So and I hope our listeners know that we're teasing.
Well, they may not.
But sometimes, I think the fangs come out. Huh? I mean, I've seen that happen with me, but now I've kind of got Naomi on board here. She can like throw daggers too. Anyways, the point is that you did a really good job with Bunch Street. And I was surprised when I came in to look at it after your renovation because you've been doing most of the work. And I came in, and then I walk around, and it's really beautiful. And then you proceed to tell me that we came in under budget, right?
Woohoo.
And all that's really good, except what's the real test? The real test is the money, right? He put it on the market on Monday. We talked to the realtor on Monday. We used the realtor for this one. Talked to the realtor on Monday, and by the time I got to Friday, he had 2 offers. By the time I got to that was Friday. By the time I got to Monday, we had 3 offers. And we went for a couple rounds, and we listed for 135 and landed at 142. So,
yeah.
good job, Peter. So that gets some stripes. That definitely gets some stripes. Okay?
That is awesome.
So, but the good thing about it is that even though we talked about it, the majority of it is done himself. So he gets the Eagle badge for that one.
Pete, well done.
I had some good advice. I asked a few people their opinion of what to do and landed in the middle somewhere. And I just do what I do. Make it look nice.
That's a whole show by itself.
That's a whole show by
What
itself.
What does Peter do?
What do you do?
Well,
he gets a manicure.
He's got his hands out. He's trying to show us dirty fingernails.
That injury was pulling the boards out and shoving them out into the street for the guy. Come get my boards. Wait a minute. Come back.
Anyways, let's carry on. We're on episode number
91.
95.
95?
That's what the paper says. 95. I hope it's right. Yeah, 95. It's in the book.
I thought last week was 90.
Uh-oh. We got to bring Naomi up
because
into
it was
present
a
time.
special
Naomi,
episode because it was 90, no? Okay, never mind.
Yeah, okay.
Touch
All
the
right.
table.
All right, whatever.
So episode number 95.
No, it was 100.
Yeah,
remember?
we're
$100
after
bill.
100. We're after 100. Yeah, we're heading toward the $100.
In 5 weeks, we really got to do something
5 weeks,
special.
yeah.
And not lunch at the luncheonette. Lunch at a nice place.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, I'm sorry. 100 deserves it. Might even be dinner.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's going to be one.
I'm stuck on that the luncheonette is not a nice place. And I've kind of got that it's been outvoted. I got that.
Sort of.
It's okay.
Sort
A
of.
few weeks ago.
Special for like 100.
You know, it's okay. He's okay.
Right.
I like the luncheonette.
Oh, Emma's
2
chimed
against
in.
2.
All right, let's get down to business here. All right, episode number 95. How to break into real estate and become the next Donald Trump in your family. How's that, Peter?
Hey, I'm getting there.
That could be a highly controversial statement, sir.
Okay.
just the money part. Just the money part.
Here's the description.
Things out.
Here's what we're going to talk about, and we're going to keep it on topic today. We've been doing really good with that lately. Avoid the common mistakes talked about in this podcast, and you will soon become the strongest earner in your family.
So don't do what we do.
Just get the results that we get. You know, when you have kids, there's a saying for that. You know what it is?
Don't do as I do as I say.
There you go. All right, let's keep going here. Finding and evaluating deals is one of the most important things in real estate investing. But there is something even more important that has to be done. And most do it incorrectly. Thus shooting yourself in the foot and killing deals without even knowing it. Uh-oh. These disturbing facts are hard to swallow, but once confronted, you will soar in real estate with record-breaking income. Go ahead, Peter.
What?
Usually you have something to say after I read stuff.
Well, it's working for me.
You know, I had all these comments, like side comments as you're reading, and then you just like barrel on through, and I'm like, oh, opportunity pass. All right,
let's go. Flipping
line by line.
Here we go. Finding and evaluating deals is one of the most important things in real estate investing.
Oh yeah.
Okay, but there is something even more important that has to be done.
Please tell us.
And most
you don't remember.
And most do it incorrectly, thus shooting themselves in the foot and killing deals without knowing it.
We never do that.
These disturbing facts are hard to swallow, but once confronted,
with alcohol,
you will soar in real estate with record-breaking income.
I like it.
Yeah. All we got to do is bring the income around. And they always like, where's the income lately? Because I know I haven't been seeing it. We got to fix that.
Oh, Lordy.
So this is actually an extension from last week's course. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Radio show. No. Podcast. There we go. That's it. Get your nomenclature straight, Bill. So episode number 94 was... What is the number one reason real estate investors never really get going? Remember?
Vaguely. It's like a dream, the Twilight Zone.
Yeah. Do you remember?
He wasn't here. As a teddy bear. You were like here as a fictional teddy bear. We were talking about you and to you throughout the podcast.
Where did I go?
So,
was I still under the weather?
I think that you actually were a little bit nervous that we might do the podcast that we had talked about. Honestly,
I personally, I think he called in a sick day because it was nice out when fishing.
Yeah,
I think
you
that's
want
what
to go fishing. You're the one.
All right, so we kind of goofed around enough. Let's just get right down to business. So, Ron LeGrand, my favorite mentor, as grumpy as he could be, is really passionate about this business, says that he surveyed 1,000 new investors. And he said that he got 238 responses back. Of that, 128 of them had the same exact answer, which was, what was the number?
48%.
49% or something like that. It was a big number. Okay. 45%, that's what it was. 45% of this said the same thing. That the reason why investors never really get started or have trouble is on the seller call. Even when they have virtual assistants and people give them leads that say yes, the seller will say, yes, I will do a terms deal. Mm-hmm. They still botch it up or don't make the phone call. Okay? Yep. So that's what we talked about last week. All right? So you missed out on that because you weren't here. But you know the drill because we've been through it. Mm-hmm. Today, what I wanted to do is I wanted to embellish part of that podcast. on the common mistakes that people make when they're on the phones. Okay?
Sounds good.
So, and then I kind of wanted to go over some of the things that folks could do to like get started, because I think it's made too difficult to get started. Okay?
Yep.
So here are some of the common mistakes. So we talked about this last week. We're going to kind of go at it again this week with a little bit different angle. So don't feel like you've already heard this and shut the podcast off, because we have some really good stuff. Okay? So the first thing is you beg. Right? And the thing is, I'm reading, I put this in an email too, so I'm just going to read it so I don't have to like worry about what I'm saying. And the thing is, you won't even know you're begging. Right? You're just talking too much. You don't know what to say. Right? You have no script. You're just shooting from the lip. Just plain old begging. So, one of the things that I have a personal realization recently is that when I'm coaching my guys and I'm working with Naomi, which hasn't been so much lately, but it has been, I've been working with our opening caller. I had a coaching client last week on the coaching call actually bring it up without me ever even talking about it on the coaching call. She was recording herself during an opening call. So I asked her when she played back the recording, what did she get out of it? And she started to giggle. She said, I realized I don't know what I'm talking about. So even though she gave answers and even though she talked, there's a big difference. Now, you and I have talked about this, Peter, because there's a difference between asking a question and getting an answer and asking a question and getting the right answer. Right? So I could say to you, Peter, did the landscaper go out to Fleetwood and do the job? And you could say to me, I talked to him yesterday. Right? So you answered me, right? Well, you gave me...
I answered you, but I didn't answer your question.
Right. Exactly.
I responded, but I didn't answer your question.
Right. So it throws the conversation off. And I might say to you, oh, really? What did he say? Right? So now the conversation's like off on a different angle.
You didn't get your question answered.
What I should have really done is I should have said to you, okay, so you talked to him yesterday. Good. So did he get the job done? And then ask the question again until I get at least an answer to that question.
Yep.
You were going to say something?
No, I was just going to confirm.
Yeah. Right? So that's the first thing I want to talk about, because here's what happens is when people are talking to sellers, they're not paying attention to what answer should I get, because sometimes they don't know. Now, in the past, I've talked about contrary facts, right? So you kind of like chase down contrary facts. And really what a contrary facts mean is you have two facts that appear to be correct, but they can't be, right? Let me see if I can come up with a good example here. Like yesterday I was driving my car home from work is one fact. And then a few minutes later I say, well, my car's actually in the shop. Right?
Yeah, how'd you do that?
So it appears, so I'm proposing to you that both these facts are correct. But when you hear them, say it again.
They have two cars.
Yeah. Yeah. But the point is that there's some illogic to it. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. So not both of them could be right. So one of them has to be odd. Right? Or so you need to figure out which one and query it. Like, how could that be? Right? So I'm being a little bit profound here, but the point that I'm trying to make is that when you talk to a seller and you're doing these things we're talking about, like you're not answering questions and you're not giving good answers to your seller, they know it. And more importantly, here's what happens, and this is what I stumbled upon. This is one of those things that's just right under my nose. It's right under your nose, right under Naomi's nose, that is so simple that it's almost hard to believe. Okay? And I believe that when you are thinking about the answers for your seller's questions, you are not comfortably there in communication with your seller. You're in your own head, or you're thinking about your answers.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of truth. Anytime you're fumbling with something,
right,
you're paying less attention to what's going on. You're paying more attention to what do I do when.
Right.
What words are you talking about?
Huh?
What words are you talking about? I mean, what words you're saying. When you're fumbling, you're talking about the words that you're saying. You're not in their world. You're in your world.
Yeah.
Because you don't even know what you're saying.
Yeah, you're worried about what to say, and what if she says this, and what do I do next? And
Naomi,
you're not paying
that's
as much
awesome.
attention.
Naomi, she just said, that's awesome. You're not in their world. You're in your world.
Yeah, yeah.
That's really a good way to put it.
Yeah.
I didn't think of it that way, but that's correct. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So here's what happens. When you're not comfortably there in present time with the conversation, right? You actually emanate or send out a signal of less confidence. Because I couldn't figure out, because I'm in the house with Naomi, I've been in the house with you, I've been in the house with Jesse, and my other acquisition managers, and I never really, I kind of always took the excuse that, I have experience.
You.
Yeah. So, because I'll be like, I have an answer for that. And then I'll be like, and you can attest to this, Naomi. We'll be in a house, and you'll be talking, right? And then all of a sudden, we get to a point where I'm like, you want me to answer the question? Or, we'll get some sort of a bridge communication.
Right. I think we just kind of intuitively know. Because I pause, and then okay,
right,
time to
So when that happens, there's a different way that the seller communicates. That's what I've noticed.
Yeah.
So I'm like, why is that? Right? I mean, because I think she's pretty good in the house. But what I realized is it's the confidence. It's like when you're giving that offer and you're like really doing it, you're in present time and you're passionate, right? There's just confidence there. You're like, this is what I'll do. Right, here are the parameters. If you go outside of the parameters, I'm not going to do it. And that's the way it is. So when we're talking about begging, that's what we're talking about. So when you're kind of like on the phone and you're rambling on, and well, I could do this and I could do that, and it's apparent to your seller that you're begging. Can I buy your house, please? Can I buy your house, please? Yeah, I'll do whatever you want me to do. Oh, okay. Yeah, I could do that. Oh, yeah, I could do that too. Oh, yeah. No problem. Yeah. See what I mean? So how does the seller make you feel? How does it make the seller feel?
A little bit edgy.
You get what I'm saying?
Scared. Yeah.
So it's not so much the words, where a lot of people, although I'm very strong about the words. Like there's certain sentences like, what would have to happen for me to buy your house today, which we talk about all the time. So I think what I'm trying to do, because I'm writing scripts and courses and all that kind of stuff, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to distinguish when do you ad-lib and when don't you. Because you have to ad-lib. I mean, you have to put your own conversation in there, because otherwise it's not you. You're like a robotic portion of me.
Right.
Right? And definitely you and I, because you and I are definitely different.
Big time.
I mean, we could sit down to have food and she's eating vegetables and, grass from the field and whatever else she's supposed to be eating. And I'm not doing that, okay? I'll be like, yeah, give me some bacon and also English muffin with some peanut butter,
And Naomi moves a seat over to the left.
So we're definitely from two different pastures, for lack of terms, right? And obviously you're a girl and a guy, and I'm a guy, so there's differences there. And just your sales techniques are different than mine. A little softer than mine. Mine are sometimes a little too harsh. So how do I make that work? Because if I can't do that with you under my nose, then how do I teach people on a podcast or in my courses? Mm-hmm. So there has to be something, right? So that's why I've been thinking about this a lot lately. That I think that as long as you know the outline, we call it the velvet. I call it the velvet ropes. Like you go to a nightclub and there's this line with the velvet ropes, and that's how you get into the nightclub, right? And so as long as you have some sort of an outline, which is what the scripts are intended to do, is have the outline, right? And then you just know that there's certain checkpoints, like when you get to the guy and he's like, he's going to let you into the door, you know what I mean? And then you check your ID, and then you go through the process of how you get into the bar, right? So that's what I've been trying to do. So that's why this kind of comes up, because if this stuff is not in, and we're going to talk about a few other things too, but if you are not comfortably there and you're sounding confident, I don't think you're going to get a deal. Or your seller could be so motivated, which is another portion of it we should talk about, right? Your seller's going to be so motivated it doesn't matter what you say.
Exactly. We've definitely covered a lot of ground with that. Yeah. That even people that are just fumbling around on the phone,
right,
they still get deals because they're at least out there. They're doing it. There's a saying called "do it scared," and
right,
you just do it. And so it might take you longer to hit on that person, but then once you hit on it, your confidence level grows. You hit on another one, and then you get to that level where you're, at that confident, the master level. Which, you're only at level 6, Pete, but, eventually the master level.
So here's what I decided. We can let people have level 6. Yeah, so what I realized the other day is that we, or me, actually decides how many levels there actually are.
I think he already decided, Bill.
How many levels there are?
No, not how many levels there are, but he already decided.
That's what my point is. So he's level 6, so we'll let him have the level 6. But we haven't decided how many levels there actually are.
I was thinking that earlier because I was going to tell him, why be so limited with level 6? I mean, you could be level 100. You could be level, the sky's the limit here.
There aren't that many
How many zeros are
This is just the steps in the process. I haven't revealed all the details yet. I'm working on it.
Listen to this.
Well, as an instructor, don't you have levels? You finish first grade, second grade, journeyman, advanced. You have to have levels with things.
So perhaps there should be 18 levels, 12 levels for the group. Maybe you could go to high school, to college, to masters. Anyway,
I want to completely
bring it full circle.
I want to completely bring it full circle. Hey Emma, would you go on my desk and get me the yellow pad, please? I wrote something on there the other day I want to share with Peter and Naomi. The one on the top.
While we're waiting.
No, I want to bring it full circle.
Oh, okay.
But you had something you wanted to bring up?
Not really. I just had a time killer, so we didn't have dead air. That's all.
No, we're not going to have dead air. Thank you, sweetie.
We just filled it.
We just filled it. I had something much more interesting than that.
So
we'll get it.
I'm doing some copywriting, and I'm actually writing a webinar. Okay, because I think next month we're going to do a webinar next month. So there's something interesting that I wrote that is exactly why I brought up your levels status. Okay, because I thought it was
Naomi,
apropos.
I'm inspirational.
You are inspirational, Pete.
So let's talk about that. So just because we're talking about begging and feeling confident, right? And I think I want to not elaborate on this, but let's bring it around to a deal structuring, right? Because one of the things I get, I don't want to call it complimented, but I get conversation about, and both of you have done this, and it happens to me all the time, is no matter what the person says, I'm like, oh, okay, we could do this, right? It's like I always seem to have an answer, right?
Yeah.
And how do you teach that? Like, what is the answer? So I want to kind of like give an example of what I'm talking about, like when you're in the velvet rope and you're heading for the nightclub. Okay. Yeah. So I was doing a deal structure on because the name of the webinar I believe is going to be. Let me get the pad here. I wrote this last night at 10 o'clock. Actually,
pretty
7
good.
o'clock. Yeah. So the name of the webinar I think is going to be why. Nope, that's the wrong page.
A lot of pages.
Yeah. Buying over leveraged property and making huge profits. Right? So I was talking about a property, giving an example of a property that's $180,000 loan value, but the ARV is actually, the after renovated value is actually $160,000. So we run into this, which is one of the reasons why I'm kind of doing this, because we've been running into these deals.
Mm-hmm.
So the payment is $1,310 is what I did for my example.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the ARV is $160,000.
Mm-hmm.
He owes $180,000, and the payment's $1,310.
Does it need renovation?
No, it's pretty.
Okay.
This is a mock deal. Okay, it's something I made up. It's just to prove.
So you say ARV, just the selling
the-
price.
Yeah.
The value.
Yeah. So if they were to sell it with a bank, how much would the bank appraise it for?
160.
160. But how much does he owe?
180.
Okay. So how do you make that deal and make money? Go ahead.
Slot deal.
It's a slot deal.
All
Okay.
day long.
So how do you make that deal and make money? Because you are correct.
So put it on the market for 180.
Yeah.
And because you're working with a different market, it's going to be different.
A different buyer.
Right.
A different buyer.
Right.
And so through time, well, and then the 1,300, just pay that. And if you're renting it out, you're, doing the lease option purchase for 1,500, you've got, maybe $300 of cash flow, plus you have the option, which can be applicable. Like say they put $10,000 down.
Right.
As a deposit. So the, because that 10,000 would in a sense have to go to that mortgage. I think I'm seeing the dilemma. So maybe just monthly cash flow.
Okay. So normally, what do we do for a lease term?
5-ish, 5-7.
On a slot deal.
Oh,
Sorry,
slot two?
a lease term.
It's 2 years.
Yeah.
Right? So it's 2 years.
So then extend it out to a longer term.
Exactly. And that's what my point is.
Got it.
So like with Peter, we're joking around with Peter with his ranking over here.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, so does it really matter that he's a 6 when we can push the term out and make it say, well, you know what, Peter? You need to hit 20. Instead of 10, now you need to hit 20.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the same type of a concept.
Sure.
So we use the slot deal concept, but normally I would walk away from this deal.
Yep.
And I realized when I was doing this that I'm giving money away because I'm not thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
So normally my concern would be, just so we can catch everybody else up that's listening, because I think you and I are kind of having some conversation without talking. Okay. It's worth 160. The loan value is 180. So that means we need to sell it above 180 to be able to get our fee, our assignment fee.
Yep.
Right? So that's hard within itself.
Mm-hmm.
The second problem is in the 2-year term, if your buyer performs, how do they get a mortgage?
Okay, so that
So you
part of the cash flow could perhaps go against the mortgage as a credit.
see what I'm saying? So this is exactly what I'm talking about, because that's the
Which
kind of shit
brings
that
it
I was
down.
doing. I was doing all this weird shit. No, it's simpler. You said it before. So here's what happens. Just tell the guy that you need a 10-year lease with an option, because it's going to take 10 years
For that property to increase in value.
for the equity to catch up to the loan value.
Yeah.
For the loan for the loan to be decreased and the equity catch up. Because I did the math on it. I actually went online and I did the math. If you pay $1,310 for 10 years, okay, it brings the loan balance down to $110,361.
110?
$110,361. Because if you did 120 payments at $1,310, that's $157,000. All of it, which is not principal.
Right, right. So then you could just do either a credit, or the other thing also is the equity the equity.
Slow down. So this is exactly what I'm trying to make the point of this show. You get too involved with that in your own head, and it gets confusing. So here's the reality of it is where is your buyer going to go and pay rent and get a principal reduction? Because what we did is we signed up with the seller at the current price of when we bought the property with all the terms involved, meaning that when we make payments, we're going to get principal reduction.
Right.
We assigned that to our buyer. So we got the terms with our seller saying that we will take this property that's over leveraged.
Sure.
That you can't get, that you're gonna blow $40,000 if you sell this thing with a realtor. Right? And we're gonna buy it for today's current value of what the balance of the loan is today. We're gonna buy it for that number. Okay? We're gonna go over. I'm buying it from you, Naomi, and I'm gonna go over here to Pete and sell it to Pete. What am I selling Pete? I'm selling Pete the assignment of that option.
Sure.
And the option was I'm paying $180 today with a payment of $1,310. When I assign it to him, every time he makes a payment, he's getting the principal reduction because we're not staying in the deal.
Because usually, if we stay in a deal, we get that equity when we sell it at the end. But to make it valuable to the guy, my question was going to be, who's going to wait 10 years?
Good question.
Right.
And I cover this, and I'm going to cover this in the webinar.
But I think you just answered it.
No, I didn't.
Well, if you're giving him the principal reduction, that's at least because we usually don't.
So let's go over that.
Yeah.
Let's go over that.
You have to have an incentive for him to wait 10 years.
So we're kind of off topic here, but that's okay because I think this proves the point of what I'm trying to get across here is if you're comfortable with being flexible with your offers, just knowing that we're doing a slot deal, all we're doing, because there's only 3 things in a slot deal, any deal, there's only 3 things that you need to talk about. You need to talk about the ARV, the loan, and the payment. Actually, 4 things, and then the term.
Yeah.
4 things. So we never think about, I think about it when I'm doing deal structuring, but I've never thought about it in a slot deal. I think about it when I'm doing my other deals, but because I'm not staying in the payment, I never really thought about the slot deal. Now let's go back to why would the seller give you 10 years? Right? So I put here, so what are his choices? He could keep the house, keep paying for it, and have to deal with that, become a landlord himself, which some do, but he has to do it for 10 years. He has to get the loan balance down and let the equity catch up. That takes some years.
Yep.
Okay. The other thing he could do is he could walk away from it, which would stop it, but it'll ruin his credit and it'll give him nothing but a nightmare later on. The third option is he could short sell it, which means he can try to get somebody to buy it from him and short sell. The only problem with that is the way short sales go now is if he short sales it, say he short sales it for he owes $180 and he sells it for $130, there's a $50,000 difference. He has tax ramifications on that $50,000, shows up as a $50,000 income on his tax return.
Wow.
Additionally, it's a very big question if the short sale will even go through. Banks are horrible to deal with.
Right.
And additionally, on top of that, it ruins your credit.
Yes.
You wouldn't think short sales ruin your credit. They do.
They do.
Banks will block you off. They shut you down for about 4 years. It's worse than a bankruptcy.
Yeah.
I just talked to a guy. The short sale didn't work.
Yeah, all the time.
I sent him a text in January.
All the time.
He texted me back this week.
It's like a bankruptcy affects you better than a short sale, if you can shockingly believe it. Because a bankruptcy is about 2 years. And you've got like a $700 or 700 credit score, and you're like, banks are looking at you, or you can get a car, within a few months. But I don't want to get off topic, so let's go on.
So the point is what choice does he have?
Yeah.
Or you come along and say, yeah, I'll take it. Here's what we do. So he's got to wait 10 years. That's the only downfall. But he's getting the mortgage paid. Everything's fine.
Well, there's no money to get in the first place. He's just waiting 10 years for the problem to go away.
Right.
But if you solve it, it's just paperwork and waiting and somebody over there solving it, and he just goes on.
Right. So the webinar is going to be pretty cool because I'm gonna make it around that example. Okay, so and I'll let you guys know when that is. It'll be sometime next month. We are now in May, so it'll probably be in June of 2018.
So, question: the usual slot deal, it can be 100% leverage. We're okay. I think you've said 10% above value is about the stretch you can go.
Right.
And this is a little bit past that with a little extra creativity and the
That's what my point is
term.
that the reason why I'm so confident in what somebody says to me is because if I understand my basic deal structuring, just knowing that there's 7 of them is enough.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You can start to realize these deals are there.
Mm-hmm.
And you can structure them correctly.
Mm-hmm.
I
Well,
mean, all we did here was just change the term from 2 years to 10 years, and all of a sudden, it's a monster deal. I mean, if you start to go advertise that, right? I mean, we're advertising. I mean, $1,310 for a $180 payment is a little bit low, but and normally we might stay in on a deal like that, but it was just an example.
Mm-hmm.
The point is you advertise $1,310 payment. You don't advertise the price. You don't advertise the term. You just advertise the payment.
Mm-hmm.
Where when it's the other way around and we're bringing a house to the market and we're doing a lease option and we're staying in the deal, then you would advertise the price, not the term, not the payment, because you want to get as much as possible. Right. But when you have a fixed number like this in a lease option, then you're going to want to advertise the price. Does that make sense?
I think so.
Yeah. So,
Pretty cool.
when you're talking to sellers, all that's fancy. Like all this stuff we're just talking about is fancy. But I promise you the only way you are going to know this stuff is to talk to sellers. So in the beginning, we talk about in the quick start checklist that we developed a couple weeks ago or a month ago, what we talk about is even if you just go to a house and you walk around and you say, I like the house, okay, what would have to happen for me to buy it today? You don't have to have all this fancy stuff that we're talking about right now. It'd just be that simple.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, yeah, I want to read this script. Never mind, I'll do it later.
Couple weeks ago, you made a really good point of the 3 things you got to focus on: what the payment's going to be for the house, the price of the house, then the payment, and then the term.
Right.
And today, was there a 4th thing you added in?
There was.
I think you're confusing. You're confusing. Say that again. I think you're confusing two pieces of information.
Maybe. Well, with all the tools we have, when you're negotiating, it still comes down to just a few things. You have to know the loan value, what kind of offer you can make. Yep. But there's a price of the house, there's a payment, and there's a term.
Yep.
And those are like your tools to juggle. So I've seen you. Well, the price changes. Well, the term changes. The guy wants more money. Well, you need more term, or vice versa. I've seen you do that. Instead of just the guy asks for something, he says, I don't want to do that. Well, you move,
I can think of a 4th thing
around.
right here. So sometimes sellers want a deposit, and there's a 4th thing that you have to sit
or
there.
ARV. What we're talking about was ARV.
ARV.
That was the 4th thing. Was what's the house worth?
Right.
So yeah, the deposit and ARV. So that those are
So
all
it could be
added
5 things.
Added things. Yeah.
But just a focus on that gives like at least a focus on what your tools are to work a deal.
Yeah, so
it's not
I understand now.
things.
So what I was saying to you in the quick start checklist, which we don't have online yet, you could purchase it. We're selling it for $97. It's actually a 45-minute recording of us talking about a checklist. Plus, you get the transcript and you get the video and you get it in audio. It's like you get a little red stick that Emma makes, and it's a whole thing. And we mail it to you. Okay, so if you want that, then just send an email to info@flippinghousesforrookies.com or put it in the chat box, and we'll make sure we get information from you so we can do that.
Mm-hmm. That's where I got those 3 points, isn't it?
Right.
That was the whole thing.
Being impatient. So What I'm saying in that scenario is that there's three things you want to do when you're at the house. You want to settle on price, you want to settle on payment, right? And then you want to settle on terms.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where you're getting the data from.
Yeah.
But there are other things that you can negotiate or other things that you can do.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's really helpful, though, because all the things you have to keep in your head when you're trying to buy a house, sell a house, talk to people, those three things are just three things to really focus on one at a time. It just takes some confusion out. Just focus you on those three things.
Right.
Unless whatever else comes up. But,
right.
Did your homework before that, and that's your three things to focus on. You can juggle those.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So, all right. So that's the first thing. So we talked about begging, and then we gave a couple examples with the deal structure where you're not begging because you have confidence. So when I say begging, that means that you know what you're saying, when you're saying it, and why you're saying it. And if you don't know, then what do you do, Peter?
Well, you tell them that you don't know, and you'll find out and get back to them.
Right.
Or you don't say, I don't know. You say, this is some really good data. I'm going to be researching it, and then I'll be connecting back with you.
So does that sound like a confident answer to you?
Mm-hmm.
It does? It didn't to me. Sorry.
Well, the way she said it, maybe not.
Yeah.
The words are okay.
Yeah.
What is a confident answer?
Well, it's just you're saying that you're going to go do some research. So it's like you don't know where the answer is. That's all my point was. I'm splitting hairs. All I'm trying to get the point across is that when you say I don't know,
mm-hmm.
let me figure it out, is much better than let me go do some research. It says the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just a confident point. But that's just me splitting hairs. I feel like
we got lots of hairs to split.
I feel like I'm like shredding, nailing me up right now. But anyway, so I think what I'm trying to get to here is we're really beating this to death. If you don't know, then just like I said, just tell them I don't know. Can I get back to you? And they'll appreciate that more than you going on with a whole no answer dissertation. You know what I mean? It's like,
you can't fake it. I mean, that's not correct.
And they feel it.
No, I'm trained as an instructor. If you don't know, say, I don't know. I'll get the answer. I'll get back to you.
Right.
But to fake it, you lose confidence because it won't be right. How can it be right if you don't know?
Right. This is not one of those things that you could fake it till you make it.
No.
And fortunately for the people that are listening, and I do this a lot, you have, you can send support tickets. I just told you info@flippinghousesforrookies.com. You just send a support ticket, and I answer those support tickets all the time. Obviously, you can't abuse it because if you do, then I'm going to put you in my coaching program. You can't do it every single day, and I'm not going to be structuring deals for you, but common questions and things that I can help with, I always. And lately, it's actually been easier for me, like, give me your phone number, I'll call you. And I've been doing some calls and be like when I'm driving and stuff, just answer, because it's easier than typing out a whole long answer. So, all right. So one of the common mistakes that people make especially when they first start out, is what? Begging. Right? Mm-hmm. We covered that?
Yeah.
Hammered it to death?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So a second common mistake is no script. So without a script, you get lost. Agreed?
Absolutely. I mean, I can't imagine people doing this without a script.
Right.
I mean, did you ever do it without a script?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to make a script. Nobody had scripts back then.
Yeah.
I mean, think about 15 years ago. We didn't have things like podcasts and YouTube videos, and you guys got it made now. I mean, when I did
it's too easy.
Well, let's put it this way. When I started, Carlton Sheets was on midnight TV, and it was considered to be a scam business because he was on midnight TV. And if you told people you want to be a real estate investor, they say, "Oh, I like that guy Carlton Sheets," and it was like this stigma you got.
Wow. And
then who was the other one? Robert Allen was around then.
Mm-hmm. I have all that. I have all those materials.
But it was like, buying real estate with no money down was the big thing then. Now people hear buying real estate with no money down. It's like, yeah, okay, whatever. It's been played. That it's kind of like what we're dealing with the yellow letters a little bit. It's been played. Everybody's done it. It's funny when the mainstream knows what you're doing, then it's too late. It's kind of like, when you're buying stocks. If you're getting a tip on stocks and you're not like a day trader and you're like not dealing with like hundreds of millions, everybody else has that same tip. You're not. It's common knowledge. It's not a secret.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to win. You know what I mean? So scripts. What is a script? You tell me.
Well, it's the words you should say.
Okay.
Well, basically, it's the things you need to find out on the phone before you get into a house to see if you have a prospect or a suspect.
Okay.
And some clever words to just find out the information you need to know. But other than that, it's also a guide and some bit of a sequence.
Really? I'm glad I asked this question.
Yeah.
What do you think a script is?
It's the velvet ropes.
It's what?
It's the velvet ropes.
The velvet ropes? Okay.
She's using your words against you, Bill.
No, she's not.
No, I'm using it for him.
Wow, I'm glad I asked this question. I'm really glad I asked this question because I have a completely different idea what a script is.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, a script is thought out words and actually crafted before you say them. So it's like a script is done before you use them.
Mm.
And that's the trick of a script is it's not something that's done ad hoc. It's not something that you just like make up.
Ad lib.
Yeah, ad lib. There you go.
Unless you're doing improv.
Like we are right now.
Yeah.
Yep. So a script is something that happened. It's a way of saying something that's been manufactured way before you said it. So in sales, what happens is if you do a lot of sales or you talk to a lot of people, you'll start to notice that in any industry, there's 13 to 18 objections, stalls, or resistance, right? And they're common. Things like, I need to think about it, or I need to talk to my wife, well, in our industry, we have those same things, right? Like, subject to, I don't want the deed to stay in my name. That's a common objection. It's not the deed. It's, I don't want the loan to stay in my name.
Okay.
Right? That's a common objection.
Hmm.
I'll sell you the house for what I owe on it, but I don't want the loan to stay in my name. So how do you handle that? So after a while, what you'll start to notice is that you have the same questions. You just need to get the common answers. So if you want to build confidence, then the best way and fastest way to do it is when you start hearing these sayings or these rebuttals or objections or stalls or resistance or whatever you want to call them, start writing them down. Because there's only about 13 to 15 to 18 in any industry. And at least by understanding what they are, you feel more confident because at least now you can work on the persuasive answers. Or at least you can work on how you're going to handle that rebuttal. And that's the best way to build confidence. I strongly suggest that you record yourself and listen to how you answer those questions. At least record the conversation so you can hear what's being said. Because sometimes, like we were talking about before, you're too busy thinking about what your answer is going to be and you don't hear the question correctly. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Does it make sense? I feel like I'm going a little profound on this thing today, but
no, that happens when I'm teaching music. I asked a kid yesterday, "Did that sound like this?" He played Yankee Doodle. Did it sound like? He goes, "No." I heard it. He played it again. Did it sound like Yankee Doodle? No. Maybe you should record it and listen later. Right. Seriously, because sometimes you're too busy doing what you're doing to listen.
Right.
You're so stressed out just focusing on what you think you're supposed to be doing. You're not paying attention.
Right.
To what's really happening around you.
So here's the thing. Movie stars are probably the highest paid people on the planet other than athletes.
Uh-huh.
So what do you think an athlete that plays football, I'm not a football person, so I can't name someone, but the reason why they're in the NFL is why?
They know the plays.
Yeah. They practice.
They're good at what they do, but they know their plays. And
What'd you say, Naomi?
They're good.
Yeah. Why are they good?
They're practicing.
Yeah. So
muscle memory,
brain
memory.
I was just going to say it's memory, right? So it's not that they practice; it's that they practice so much that it just like when the play happens, they just go into this automaticity of the play.
Right. It's not even thinking about it.
And when you do what I'm telling you to do, and you start recording or start paying attention to these little sayings, these rebuttals, you just go into play.
Yeah.
And the point that I'm trying to make here is that when you do that, you sound confident. When you just automatically just hit that switch and you just go into the automatic play mode,
yeah,
like you've drilled it so much and you've done it so much that it's just become part of you. It's now you. So now you can comfortably be there and be you and say the right things and do the right things. Now, does this mean that you need to do all this to buy houses? No.
Like we discussed earlier, you could do a horrible job and still buy a house.
Well, there's always low-hanging fruit.
Right.
Exactly.
But if you want more deals,
so here's the point I want to make.
Yeah.
Is 50% of your well, in copywriting, this is how it works, and I know it works for offers too. 50% of somebody accepting your offer is you're talking to the right person. 30% of it is the offer, and 20% of it is how you present it. So what we're talking about today is the 20% on closing deals.
So is it fair to say that people are so concerned about that 20% that when they get on the phone, they're so frightened about it, or whatever word you want to use, they have so much anxiety that they're just messing everything up?
Or they're not getting on the phones.
Right.
And that's exactly
because the VA is sending them leads.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, I have a lead here. And they're like, oh, man, but I don't feel like I really know those scripts.
Right.
You know, and like they just, get on the phone and.
Exactly.
I know I'm throwing a slightly different angle at it.
No, that's exactly the point that I'm trying to make, that I'm having trouble making. You just made it. So I guess what I'm trying to say at the end of the day, and I said that I was going to do this last week, and I started to do it, and I just got sidetracked because I've been too busy with other things. I think with me is I'm a dumbass. We've already clarified that I like things simple. So I don't necessarily think about what I'm going to say and how I'm going to say it, because I keep sentences in my head. Like, what would have to happen for you for me to buy your house today? And when it's time for me to use it, I plug it in. I don't think about what do I have to say, because when it's time for me to do that. So with that said, I came up with something really, I think this is pretty good. And I'm just going to throw this in arbitrarily. This is completely just because we're talking about what I say. And I'm going to drill myself on this, because I'm going to put this in the script. So this is for subject to houses for a closing caller. Okay? So I'd say Naomi's a seller, right?
Right.
So I'm going to say, Naomi, it looks like I can buy your house, but the only way I can buy it is if I take over your debt. That means the loan will stay in your name, but I will make payments on it when you and I agree to start. See, I don't have it down. I don't have the script down. You see how it comes across, right? So I'm going to do it again.
You sound like us, Bill.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna have to work on this, because I word crafted the words. Now I just got to get it. So Naomi, it looks like I can buy your house, but the only way I can buy it is to take over your debt.
Okay.
I like that.
That means the loan will stay in your name, but I will make payments on it, and when you and I agree to start. And sooner or later, I'll get it paid off.
Okay.
Will this keep you awake at night?
I like the end of it, because you're inviting their concerns, so you can handle
I'm
that.
trying to figure out how to put this in the for sale by owner script.
Yeah.
Because, watch, here's what happens. If she says, yeah, man, I can't keep that. I no way I can do that. I'm not going to do that. Right? Obviously, if she says yes, I have a deal.
Well, if she says she'll keep up, if she says no.
Will it keep you awake at night? And she says,
no.
Yes,
then
I'm willing to do this. Yeah. You have a deal.
Yeah. She says she's not worried about it. She'll do it.
Right.
But if she's like, no way, man, I'm not keeping the loan in my name. I'm not passing the deed. I'm not doing any of that. Right?
Yeah.
Well, let's go to plan 2. How about I lease option it from you? I'll pay you rent and make your payment so it stays in your name. Will that work for you? So, I mean, I don't know what you, but
Yeah,
that's,
it's the same thing.
it's,
But the words are,
they're smooth.
Yeah.
And it's not salesman or anything. I'm not trying to say that. All I'm trying to say is that even I work on what am I going to say and how I'm going to say it. So now I need to make it so that when somebody brings up subject 2, you know, you got to say those words, right? Mm-hmm. Will this keep you awake at night? That's telling you whether he's a prospect or a suspect on a subject 2 deal in one paragraph.
Yeah.
Right? So is this making sense?
Makes sense.
Yeah. I want to make sure we're on topic here. So let's go back to our oh, wait a minute. There's one more thing I wanted to talk about. So you get off script and you get lost. So what would happen if any movie star came off script?
Cut.
Yeah. Would anybody invest in that movie? Would anybody watch it? No.
Not if you kept doing it now.
Right. So a movie star or an athlete, a pro athlete, would not get paid until they actually worked out what they were going to do before they were going to do it. So why are people on this call or on this podcast or people trying to do that themselves? Right?
Sure.
So that's why I say finding and evaluating deals is one of the most important things in real estate investing. But there is something even more important that has to be done. So I think that what you have to do is you have to have some scripts. You need to know them. But more importantly, you have to deliver your communication confidently and let the seller know that you're going to do this and you're passionate and it's going to work. And if you just adjust that, even if you don't know what you're doing, but only said certain things, even if you just memorize the script that we have, okay? Which, by the way, if you don't have the script already, you can go to flippinghousesforrookies.com /FSBO script, FSBO script, and it's there. We're actually working on a new script now, so as soon as that works, I'll upload that. But go to flippinghousesforrookies.com FSBO script, and you can get that script for free, and you can do exactly what we're talking about. So when I say most people do it incorrectly, this is what I'm talking about. Because even if somebody's making an offer like we talked about today, making slot deal offer we did today, right? Or we're talking about subject 2 right now. I think this will be a lot smoother than what we're doing now, right?
Some good verbiage.
What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to stay away from our lingo. Lease option, subject to, you know, because these words sneak out to the seller, and they don't understand them. And we give them when we give them misunderstandings, then they don't make a decision. The only reason why somebody doesn't make a decision usually is they don't understand, right? If we've done our job the right way, and we have 50% of the people we're talking to, or the people we're talking to, 50% of it is talking to the right person. 30% is making an offer. Then the way we make the offer is important, but not as important as we think. Does that make sense? Or do we kind of like go around?
No, that's absolutely true. I mean, I know that about myself. I'm not as good as you are and other people. And I didn't start real estate thinking I'm going to be a real estate guy and be a really good salesman. I didn't. Most people don't realize that's part of it. They think you buy a house, you sell it. Like you go to an auction or something, you get a realtor. Right. But there's just part of it that you have to do that. So I realize that I can at least do the low-hanging fruit. So
well, to your point, you don't have to be a real good salesman because you can get low-hanging fruit just using the scripts and just finding the motivated sellers.
Yeah, I'm sure that condo I got is because no matter what I said, the guy said yes.
Right.
I mean, that was easy.
Right.
It was so easy. I had you come to make sure. And I kept talking until he told me to shut up and just sign the paper.
Right.
Seriously. But there are low-hanging fruit if you just do enough work. So let's put it this way. You either have to do a lot of work or be good at it, or somewhere in the middle.
Right.
If you're not too good at it, make more phone calls.
Right.
You start
And then you'll
good
get good at it.
It's a great point. It's a great point.
Yeah.
Well, you know where I get that? If you go to school and you learn a really good trade or career or whatever, you charge a lot of money then.
Right.
If you don't, you have a job working your back every day.
Yep.
And you can make good money, but you're breaking your back every day.
Right.
Look around you. These guys that do construction, they're making money, but they're breaking their back every day.
Right.
And some lawyer, some musician sits there, do, but took a lot of work to get to that point where you could just sit there and sign things and be the fancy white-collar worker. Either way, you got to get there, but you either put a lot of time in or you just break your back a little bit.
Right.
But one way or the other, get a deal.
Right. Well, it is getting easier and easier.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, definitely, again, we've developed this quick start program where you can get a deal. Like, I mean, I had somebody use it one of my new coaching clients use it. In 2 weeks, she found a $240,000 deal for $105,000 in their closing. I have another client that signed with me. I've got actually catch up on phone calls this afternoon. I've got another client that same thing happened. You know, like within the first 30 days, he has a contract. He wants me to go over a contract with him. Mm-hmm. And actually, this week and last week have been a little rigorous for me with my coaching clients because they're doing deals,
which is awesome.
I've got another girl that just signed. She just bought a duplex, owner financed, and we're going through paperwork. You know, so it's
anybody I know. Don't have it. I think I saw that.
Anybody you know what?
Well, one
in the coaching group.
Yeah.
Yeah, she just came back.
Nice. Yeah, good.
But the point is that, you know, it doesn't have to be that hard. Mm-hmm. The stuff that we're talking about now is definitely advanced. It's more of a coaching type of a thing, you know, that I would talk about in a coaching group. But I feel like the most important thing is that one of the things that bothers me the most is that if you don't know what to say, you talk too much, you sound like you're begging, and you say stupid shit that you gotta like
renege on later on.
Or yeah, it's like I remember one time I told an employee, you wrote the check and now I gotta cash it. You know, in other words, they promised something to the customer and now I gotta deliver. He didn't have to do it. I had to do it because he promised something to a customer, and now he's the salesman and he got whatever and he got his commission and now I have to deliver. Right? So you just say stupid shit because you don't know what to say. So just make sure you grab a hold of scripts whenever you can. I mean, we talk about it on this podcast quite a bit. Listen to podcasts. I mean, Christ, there's 95 of them to listen. If you can't listen to 95 podcasts and buy a house from these podcasts alone, there's something wrong. You need to be in my coaching group and you need to get your ass kicked. You know, if you're not doing deals, I mean, I've got people. I got one coaching client told me I don't even know what episode it is. I should have Emma look it up, but it's episode 40. He said it blew him out of the park, and he bought 5 houses because of episode 40, whatever that is. What is it, Em? All right. So, you know, I mean, you don't need to inundate yourself with a lot of information. Although, as you do these deals and as you go through getting them done, the words and how you say things will make more deals for you. Like you said, less time, less aggravation. You'll get more cultivated at. But in the beginning, you should just talk to everybody and just use some of the scripts I'm giving you.
It's titled "It All Comes Down to This: How to Sell."
There you go.
There's a description, but it's kind of long. It's up to you.
It all came down to that.
He said that in episode 40. He listened to episode 40. He bought 5 houses, and then he drove all the way from Virginia to come to Wallingford to get into one of my events, and then told me in an email that he knew I didn't have a room in my coaching, and that he was coming to Connecticut to beat somebody up. so he can get into the coaching group, and then he put just kidding, and then he put it a minute later he dot. No, I'm not. And he's in the coaching group. And he's doing
was
great.
that body in the alley?
Yeah, no.
Back in the building?
Don't be giving people ideas now, Pete.
All right, good.
Reading the description, it seems like you're talking about why rehab retail is the hardest way to do it and just how to do terms and quote, where is it? Then Bill slips and explains how to do some of the paperwork for a few different types of the deals. So it looks like you just go over all everything.
Bill slips. I would do something like that and talk about the paperwork. And hey, Naomi, should we take that episode down? If I'm talking about paperwork.
I think you should repeat it.
Oh, Pete.
Episode 96.
96.
Just make it 96. We take the week off, we go fishing, and just put it up again.
I like the part where we're going to go fishing.
What's the worst that's going to happen? People are going to buy more house. You get more coaching clients.
My father-in-law's coming to visit. I decided that I need to keep him busy. I'm going to drag the boat out and tell him he needs to clean it. That'll go over by a lead balloon. He's bitching about it. All right, so let's go through this. Today's episode, the description is: avoid the common mistakes talked about in this podcast, and you will soon become the strongest earner in your family. Finding and eliminating deals is one of the most important things in real estate investing, but there is something even more important that has to be done, and most do it incorrectly, thus shooting themselves in the foot and killing deals without knowing it. These disturbing facts are hard to swallow, but once confronted, you will soar in real estate with record-breaking income. So do you feel like we've covered this?
I think we did.
Yeah? Peter?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In that case, over and out. See you next week.
Cashing out.
Thanks for tuning in to the hottest real estate topics on the planet with Bill and Pete. If you want to continue learning how to buy and sell real estate without money or credit, head over to flippinghouses.club for some cutting-edge real estate wealth tools. Or contact us at info@flippinghouses.club.